Okay, so we are going to get started. So Chris Guida is back in town. He is an OG anarchist. He is a crypto enthusiast. He is a world traveler. He lives in Mexico like a crazy person.
He looks healthy.
And tonight he's going to tell us about this one time he almost died because he didn't eat for more than a week. Give it up, Chris Guida.
Thanks a lot, Josh. Hello, everyone. I'm also a little bit afraid of public speaking, so that's also a little bit why I'm doing this. I actually did not almost die. Yeah, I'll get into that later. You can actually... okay. So there's actually a guy who fasted for 382 days without dying. You just have to have enough body fat. Once your body fat runs out, then you get into trouble. All right, so I'm going to talk about the time that I didn't eat for 21 days. My notes here. I did not consume anything except water and electrolytes for 21 days. What does not eating anything for a long period of time have to do with liberty, you ask? Well, everything. Abstinence is how we get rid of addiction. And addiction is how others control us. Thus, abstinence, or fasting if we're talking about diet, is one of the easiest things that we can do to increase our freedom. It all started with an idea, and by the way, this speech is going to have a lot of backstory because I think it requires that. So there's a lot of just general health journey. So it all started with an idea that I've known intuitively for a while, but I only recently came to understand explicitly the idea that freedom comes not from complaining or violence, but from taking responsibility for yourself. When a child grows up and becomes an adult, he gradually begins to take responsibility for himself, identifying each training wheel that his parents have imposed and removing his dependency on it by replacing the training wheel with his own awareness and skill, thereby removing the hooks to control his parents out of his life and increasing his level of freedom and happiness. When the child is finally able to make money for himself, this process is complete because his parents no longer have the ability to dictate his actions. I see the government similarly to this. It's like a really bad parent. Or two parents, like if you want to look at the Democrats and the Republicans, with 300 million kids. But it doesn't really have the capacity to listen to them and meet all of their needs. Some of the kids really do need help, and many of the people in the government really are trying to help. But the kids who want to become adults and take responsibility for themselves are often treated as criminals because it's assumed that they won't take responsibility because they've never been allowed to. The choice of whether to remove a given training wheel is up to both the parent and the child. But if the child lacks insight or motivation, he might not realize that he has the ability to remove his own training wheels whenever he feels ready. And the parent might simply leave the training wheel on forever, limiting the child's freedom and stunting the child's development. The thing is, my parents were the same way. They weren't just going to give me my freedom. I had to take it by showing that I could break the rules without anything bad happening. Sometimes bad things did happen, of course, but I was willing to accept those consequences and learn from them. Once I became independent of my parents, I realized there was a whole bunch of other things that I was dependent on that were restricting my freedom. I had to systematically go through all of the things in my life that were costing resources and reevaluate whether I really needed them. Which things am I doing because I really need to be doing them, and which things am I doing only because I'm used to doing them? I repeatedly asked myself. One of the areas where it became apparent that the system I was dependent on was dysfunctional and not serving my needs was healthcare. I started noticing holes in the grand health industry narrative when, number one, my health began deteriorating rapidly in April 2012 when I was just 23 years old. You're not supposed to deteriorate until like 35 or 40 or something like that. Number two, I'm just kidding. Doctors didn't seem to know what to do about it, and for some reason charged me huge amounts of money anyway. So it was either take matters into my own hands or basically spend the rest of my short life broke and miserable. The two main anomalies in the health industry narrative which caused me to focus entirely on my health were sudden sensory neural hearing loss in my left ear, April of 2012, and acute lower back pain, November of 2012. To help with my lower back pain, I consulted the internet, and people seemed to agree that strengthening the muscles in my back would help, so I signed up for CrossFit, which made me feel really great, and to this day, it's still the best workout to keep you motivated. It was at my CrossFit gym that I heard about the Paleo Diet and read Rob Wolf's The Paleo Solution. All right, that's some paleo people, all right, cool. My coach handed it to me after I casually asked for diet advice because my fitness results seemed to have leveled out. The book's premise is that the health narrative industry is totally wrong, and that poor health is driven primarily by eating a diet that our bodies weren't designed to be able to handle. That is, a diet ancient humans wouldn't have eaten. At the end of, let's see, this made sense to me, so I tried it for 30 days. At the end of that period, I tried to go back to eating my original diet, but I noticed that grains, and especially bread, made me feel terrible for a while after consuming them. So I eventually cut bread and grains almost entirely out of my diet. A few months later, I noticed that my asthma, for which I had since age 5, and been hospitalized twice for it. This was very serious asthma. This is not just like, oh, I had trouble breathing. It was like I was hospitalized. And doctors were like giving me all these medicines and preventative things, and it didn't really happen. It didn't make it go away. Anyway, so I changed it by getting rid of grains from my diet, and I wish somebody had just told me, like, maybe you should experiment with your diet to get rid of this asthma. I thought it was like this thing that I was going to be stuck with for the rest of my life. Anyway, so it's completely gone. I don't even have the rescue inhaler anymore because I literally don't have trouble breathing anymore. The last time I had grains was when I ate a bunch of bread just to see what would happen. And sure enough, I had extreme trouble breathing. It's easy to avoid bread now, knowing that I won't have asthma without it. I guess you could say that this experience, getting rid of a lifelong chronic condition simply by changing my diet, was the inspiration for my dietary experimentation. It was clear to me now that doctors who tell you your condition is permanent can possibly be just simply wrong. You just have to be willing to make extreme lifestyle changes. Most people aren't really willing to make extreme lifestyle changes, but it would be cool if a doctor would just say, hey, if you wanted to try removing things from your diet, maybe you might find something that you're sensitive to. Another thing this experience taught me was that addiction is everywhere. It might feel like you need a ton of pizza or a Chipotle burrito because that's what your brain is telling you to do, but that's just because you're addicted to carbohydrates. Once I practically eliminated carbohydrates from my diet, I didn't feel like I needed those things anymore, and indeed I didn't feel hungry as often. CrossFit turned out to be a double-edged sword. After about a year of getting fitter and feeling great, I started having severe chronic back pain and had to stop. I waited a few months to see if the pain would go away, and it didn't. After seeing some very expensive health professionals who couldn't help, I became determined to fix the problem myself. After trying lots of things, I eventually started having success making the pain go away with a combination of walking everywhere, driving as little as possible, and stretching whenever possible. I noticed that caffeine and sitting at a desk all day made my muscles tighter and more painful. So I stopped and gave up coffee, and eventually, at the beginning of 2016, I quit my job as a developer to focus entirely on fixing myself, because honestly, sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day was not helping with my back. I started with experimenting with different diets to see what made me feel better most of the time. I started relying on how I felt to guide my dietary choices. I noticed as my diet improved that I literally craved certain foods because I had a deficiency of a certain nutrient. Most importantly, I started becoming increasingly aware of when I might be addicted to something. That is, that my brain is telling me I need something when really it's just used to having a huge surplus of that thing. You can always determine if you're addicted to something by removing it from your diet for a time. Then, if you feel better and no longer have cravings for it, you are addicted. If you feel worse and crave it more and more, you are deficient. If you feel better at first but then worse, you'll probably benefit from small, infrequent doses. The logical extreme of this process is fasting. If you give up literally everything except water for a time, you get rid of all of your addictions. Addictions are noisy signals that tell your brain to do things that it shouldn't do because it's become accustomed to those harmful behaviors. Every time I've removed my dependency on an activity or a substance, I've had enormous gains in quality of life. If you aren't spending all of your time and energy feeding your addictions, you'll have more resources to give yourself what you really need. Plus, your body will benefit massively because you're no longer overloading it with some chemical that is most likely causing problems. And also, I'd like to add that pretty much every advertisement is pretty much every product out there on the market is something that you, like, if you think about it, you don't really need. You can probably go without it. Maybe there are exceptions, but I haven't found that many. I literally gave up everything.
What about bong racing?
Bong racing, maybe.
It's good for you.
It sounds healthy.
It's good for you, and it's recommended for trial.
It's kind of electrolytes.
Yeah, I hear it's great. So I tried going for a couple of single-day fasts earlier in the year, and afterwards I noticed I wasn't as stressed about stuffing food down my throat all the time, and I felt like I had more time in the day. My head and senses, actually, if you give up eating, you'll notice how much more time you have because of all the time that you think about food. It's ridiculous. Or it was for me, I don't know if it was for you, but if it will be for you. Yeah. So my head and senses felt clearer. I was really able to think about what I wanted to eat, and the food was much tastier and more satisfying. I've basically been looking for an opportunity to do a longer fast after those initial one-day fasts. and I wanted to make sure I did my research and could do it properly. I found tons of helpful resources online that convinced me that I shouldn't have any problems, and once I found r/fasting, which is just, the subreddit for fasting. Reddit is awesome, by the way. I knew that I could turn to that community if I really needed anything. It's so great to have a community of experts in whatever topic you're interested in. It was time. On September 7th, 2016, I woke up and didn't eat anything for the next 21 days. I picked 21 as my stretch goal because it seemed to be the magic number that many people on the internet had tried with amazing results. One person mentioned that they cured their tinnitus with a 21-day fast, and I was eager to repeat that result. The hearing loss in my ear included tinnitus, so I was like, well, maybe if I can just get rid of the ringing, maybe if I can have any improvement at all, this will be worth it. I wanted to go big or go home, as it were. I wanted to know definitively if fasting would have any serious benefits. If it did, I didn't want to miss out on those benefits and have to do it all over again. I didn't want to go for like a 7-day fast and then be like, oh, what if I'd gone for a 21-day fast, instead. So I just went for the big one. Let's see. Also, this is kind of gross. I had some parasites, and I killed them off with medicine. But after that, I kind of just wanted to nuke everything in my gut and just kind of start over again.
Mexico, everyone.
No, this was way before Mexico.
Wait, hold on. Can you back up? Where did the parasites?
What's that?
Was that during the fast?
That was right before the fast.
Oh. Okay.
And it grossed me out so much that I was like, I think I want to do a really long fast. So sorry about that.
No, it's
And
not.
thanks. If you have any questions, stop me. I'm just gonna fly through this. It was also the maximum length of time Gandhi fasted, and I didn't want to be outdone. During my fast, I didn't work at all, and I didn't socialize much, and physical activity became increasingly difficult. So I'd given up working, actually, at the beginning of 2016, and this was in September of 2016, after I felt like I had really tried everything else to try and cure my ear. So I was like, well, this is the one thing I haven't tried, so I guess I'll do it. Let's see. On day 4, I started feeling really off after taking an hour-long walk and then socializing for a bit, and I had to eat some salt and lie down before I felt better. After that, I took it easy and limited my socialization and physical activity. I also purchased some electrolyte tablets at the suggestion of Reddit, which came in handy 4 times during my fast. Eventually, I didn't need them anymore, and I felt like they reduced the purity of my fast. I wanted to do like a pure water fast. I also gave up all the drugs. I gave up caffeine, weed, alcohol, just water. That's it, and some salt, like I said. I took walks around my apartment complex and read a lot of political philosophy. Mostly I just waited because I realized that pretty much all of my actions depended on buying things. When you go for 3 weeks without eating, you pretty much don't spend any money because eating and drinking require spending money, and socializing usually requires eating or drinking, that is, buying stuff. It was a really liberating experience to recognize that I literally could go weeks without spending any money. It was also great to have so much time to myself. I could finally just reflect on my life and my needs without distractions. Food takes up such an amazingly huge amount of my time. I already said that. Let's see. Sure, you can eat fast food, but one thing I've learned in the past few years is that some food is literally not worth eating. Some food actually harms you more than it nourishes you. On day 21, September 28th, I broke my fast with some juice and a small bite of apple. By that time, I had no desire for food, and I'd almost forgotten what it was like to eat. The apple was the most flavorful thing I've ever tasted. And the feeling my body had as the juice flowed over my tongue and down my throat was absolutely incredible. As recommended by the internet, I continued slowly increasing my food intake over the next week, but I actually just stuck to fruits, vegetables, and nuts for the first month or so after I broke my fast. And I felt amazing, by the way. like I've never felt so clean and clear-headed. Then I went to Argentina for a Bitcoin conference, and that kind of ruined that. They have a lot of really great meat and wine there. Here's a post I shared on Facebook a little later that got people's attention. Well, the results of my 21-day water fast have been nothing short of miraculous. My left ear previously could not hear frequencies above 5 kilohertz, a condition I suddenly and mysteriously acquired in April of 2012. My primary purpose for attempting this fast was to see if I could fix my ear. At the end of the fast, it could hear 8 kilohertz. Since I started eating again a couple of weeks ago, it's steadily been improving. I can now faintly make out frequencies around 14 kilohertz. The human ear is supposed to be able to hear up to around 20 kilohertz, and my ear is still improving. It's actually stopped after that. It's actually at about 14 kilohertz, and I'm thinking of doing another fast, actually. But there's so much more. My brain seems to have cleared up some damage left over from years of abuse. My senses are now sharper, and my audio and visual processing seems better. Instead of anxious and unmotivated, I feel happy, focused, and energetic. I've also had chronic back pain since January of 2014, and the pain has practically vanished. I'm realizing after undergoing this fast that my muscles had been unusually tight, as they now feel like silk. I had gotten in the habit of stretching for hours every day, but it always felt like an uphill battle. Now my muscles stay stretched out, and I'm rapidly becoming more flexible. I've started lifting and running again, and I actually feel motivated to do these activities. I've taken this opportunity to switch to an extremely minimal diet, and I don't feel addicted to food anymore. I feel so much more relaxed and free, like I have all the time in the world. I feel like I've been given the opportunity to hit the reset button on life. I'm so grateful and excited to be alive right now. I can't wait to see what the future brings. So that was a Facebook post, and I got a lot of love on that. Since then, my health has continued improving in innumerable and immeasurable ways. I now feel like my mind and body have made peace with each other, and their relationship continues to grow stronger. I've now become full-on hippie, and I'm doing yoga pretty much every day now, and my health has never been better. I'm also lifting a lot more than I ever was at CrossFit, so I'm pretty happy with that. But I'm still fighting for more freedom in my life, always looking for that next training wheel to remove. Thank you. All right, so who's got questions? This guy, green shirt, I forgot your name.
That's fine. So you run the Paleo solution. You believe in hyper-Bitcoinization. Are you obligated to try an all-meat diet? See if that also helps.
Obligated to do what?
To try an all-meat diet.
An all-meat diet.
Join the Bitcoin carnivores.
So I've experimented with eating lots of meat, and it makes me feel. It's not for me. I'm not going to say that it's a bad diet and that nobody should do it, but yeah, it just makes me feel groggy and terrible after a while. So for me, I like to eat mostly vegetables, and then now that I'm trying to put on muscle mass, yeah, I have to eat a lot of meat. But
Were there any vitamin and mineral deficiencies after the fast that, had you known about them, like maybe it would have made the fast a little bit easier? Or post-fast, was it something that was striking right away? You knew you needed more potassium?
yeah, so that kind of all works itself out in the first days of the fast, the first 5 days of the fast. You'll have lots of imbalances, and then eventually you'll reach a point where like your kidneys are continuously filtering your blood, and your liver is continuously doing stuff. And eventually, when you haven't eaten anything for like a week, your body reaches this steady state where you really don't feel bad or good. You just feel like, blah. Like, this is life. I mean, like I said, I felt very clear-headed, but I didn't have much energy. Imbalances, that's really hard to say. I would say that when I started eating again, I noticed, I noticed when I was eating too much of one thing and not enough of other things. And it was way easier to tell those things. Like my instincts about food became much sharper. And actually I went to the Whole Foods buffet and a lot, and just kind of picked like I'd get really attracted to like the red vegetables, and just be like, and then just eat a bunch of those and feel better. So I don't know if that answered your question, but Elliot.
What was your weight loss during the 21-day fast?
I went from 145 to 118
What?
during the fast.
Holy shit.
So most of that is water. So when you haven't eaten for a long time, your gut just shuts down basically, and your body stops retaining water. Your body does eat itself, start to eat itself a little bit. I think it's called catabolism or something like that. Autophagy, yeah, exactly. And that actually helps you heal. It actually kind of, your body takes that resting time to kind of like harvest the old dead tissues of your body and redirect those resources to build new healthier cells. And that's my theory, because like I said, the hair cells in my ear seem to have regenerated, which is miraculous to me.
Like, did your overall weight set at a lower level that wasn't 118 but like below 145?
No, it's about 150 now. So I gained back the weight that I lost on the fast. Like I said, I had like a really minimal diet for a couple of months after the fast. So I stayed around like 125 to 130 for a bit. And then after I started eating meat again and working out again, I started gaining more weight. So yeah, for me losing, yeah, my body seems to have this kind of sticky weight, which is around like 140, 145. But I'm trying to hopefully get up to like 170. Justin.
You said you felt amazing in that blog, in that post, right? They got a lot of love.
Right.
Did you feel amazing during the fast, or just after you came back to the apple?
Yes, I felt amazing during the fast. Like I said, I felt tired, but my thinking felt very clear, and I felt like my life had a purpose again. like I felt very depressed before that, and then towards the end of my fast, I started feeling like a lot of people describe a long fast like that as almost like a spiritual experience. Like you start to feel like things have meaning, and yeah, like there's a significance to the stuff that you do. I felt better in the ways that mattered to me. And then once I started eating again, I had energy, which was the only thing lacking during the fast. Megan?
How are your sleep patterns?
Very regular. I had a routine. I slept on the floor because my back was bothering me when I slept on a bed. So I slept about 8 hours a night, pretty much the same place, same time, every time.
What's the composition of the electrolyte tablets?
So the ones that I bought are called Salt Stick. They were the ones that were most highly recommended on Reddit. They're basically just a bunch of different salts. It's sodium chloride, magnesium, potassium. I think it's got like zinc. Maybe like just a bunch of salts that your body needs. I forget, honestly, all of them. But there's like 8 or 10 different ones. Josh.
So have you done any fasting since, and do you do intermittent fasting at all?
Yes. So yeah, definitely after that experience. I still haven't done anything longer than a 36-hour fast since then, but it's definitely made me way more comfortable with doing that. A 36-hour fast is something that you can do you can just kind of fit it into a weekend. Actually, so pretty much all major world religions recommend fasting, like once a week or at some period of the year, doing it. And it's clear to me why, because it's healthy. So basically, whenever I feel kind of like I've been eating too many bad things, or I've been not getting enough sleep, or just feeling run down, I'll take a 36-hour fast where basically I eat dinner, I go to sleep, I wake up, I don't eat anything for the whole day, then I go to sleep, and I wake up the next day and I eat breakfast. And if you do that, the process of breaking the fast is very easy. If you take longer fasts, you have to kind of be careful about physical activity. You have to slowly ramp up your eating, and while you're doing that, physical activity can be rough. So.
You mentioned being tired before. Do you think you would have enough energy if you were working, say, an office job, Monday through Friday?
Yeah, okay, no, that's a good question. I definitely think that this is not something that people can do if they're trying to work. Like, you should take off the time. This should be me time. It should be reflection time. If you're trying to get stuff done during it, you're gonna probably make yourself sick. I don't know, but yeah, like I said, I did some kind of like reading and like reflection, but I definitely didn't have like deadlines. I didn't have like stressful stuff that I had to think about. So.
One more on that. Could you tell maybe after 4 days, after 7 days, things that you noticed beneficial, and maybe you're getting better, or things like after a certain
Yeah. Let's see. I think it was day. So I started measuring my ear's frequency response. I think once I measured it before the fast, and it was 5 kilohertz, and then it was. I started noticing it getting a little bit better, and then I started measuring it after that. So it was kind of like it was definitely later in the fast. It was like day 14, I think, where I measured it, and I was like, whoa, I can hear 8K. That's definitely higher than 4. And then I measured it every day after that because I wanted to see if it kept improving, and it did. It kept improving. And actually, so I think it was by the end of the fast I heard 8K. And then once I started eating food again is when it really started to ramp up. It really started to get better. Like I was eating very like fruits and vegetables, and then yeah, during that it went up to 14 kilohertz. So, but yeah, I was measuring it with Audacity. If you guys know what that is. Sure.
You mentioned omitting other substances besides food around this time as well. So things like weed. Did you stop smoking weed same time? Did you stop smoking weed a month before and then cut out?
So you
Was it all
weren't bomb
gradual?
racing?
Yeah, the bong races, are my bong racing days are behind me. So actually, that's a great question. So I had given up working in January of 2016.
I met you before 2016, and there was some weed involved.
Yes. Yes, and actually I've dabbled in that, recently as well. I haven't actually. I don't believe in giving things up forever. Like the poison is in the dose, right? Like if you do like an extremely small amount of pretty much anything, you can survive and probably get better. Weed is one of those things where like it just makes me. I gave it up. I had given it up for about. Yeah, like 8 or 9 months before I did this fast. I had already, basically I was trying everything I could to try and see if I could make myself healthier. And that was one of the first things that I tried. I was like, all right, I'm gonna stop drinking alcohol, I'm gonna stop smoking weed, I'm gonna stop drinking coffee, and see what happens. And I did feel a lot better after that. But there was still these kind of lingering problems, and that's why I tried the fast.
Have you ever added back coffee?
Have I ever had a bad coffee?
Sorry, added back coffee.
Added back.
Oh yeah, I have.
Do you have negative effects?
I have a crazy relationship with coffee. Basically, I just start drinking it, and then I get really addicted to it, and then I have to stop because, I can't do that thing where you just do it every day. That's not sustainable for me. Because after a week, I'm like, man, I really need 2 cups of coffee. So I love coffee, but I'm not drinking it now, but I probably will. I kind of go on and off of it. Elliot.
How did you identify that you have parasites, and how did you get rid of them?
That's kind of gross.
No, tell us because I have a gross question too. How are you?
Look up the symptoms of roundworm,
Oh, yeah, you found.
and you'll know.
I'm gonna ask a gross question.
Okay, what's your gross
But
question?
it's kind of like an omission of grossness.
It's okay, safety in numbers.
After a certain amount of time, there's just nothing to digest. So
Yeah.
like, you went like a
Yeah.
pretty long time.
Yeah, I was like 21 days, everything has to be cleared out, right?
Right. So you like don't poop anymore.
Yeah, correct.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't poop at all after like the 3rd or 4th day.
After the 4th day?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of time.
No, and the funny thing is that it actually just stays in there, and actually sorry, this is so gross,
No,
but
it's not
it's like right after I broke my fast, I know some like really old stuff came out. It just stays in there.
Really? Is
Yeah.
there not something pushing it out?
What's that?
There's not like new food
Exactly.
constantly processing.
Yeah,
through your
I
body?
think I'm not like exactly 100%. I didn't like test it to see how old it was, so I don't know.
17 days.
Anyway, sorry guys.
I don't think anyone is anyone offended by food.
No.
Alright, cool. We're
What was your name?
We're cool.
Anne.
Can I take the mic for just a minute?
Sure.
Are you
So I
talking about
tag along with this stuff. So I am a believer too. I met Rod Wolf. I've got selfies with him on my phone. Oh my god, he's so cool. You gotta come to the Ancestral Health Symposium next year. Oh man, he's cool. Fasting. So I have MS. I have other things going on. The shoulder that they've not been able to help for 4 years. Big problem. So I'm actually looking at fasting now. Last year at the Ancestral Health Symposium, roommate told me about Dr. Walter Longo's research. He's an Italian immigrant at USC, University of Southern California. He has an FDA-approved package of food to eat during a 5-day fast. I plan to do this on the 13th, start this on the 13th when the kids go back to school on a Monday, because I've been reading, and I'm curious your side too, I think it might be better for me to be busy. I substitute teach, so I'm not like horribly busy, but I'm busy and out of the house and not looking at the fridge to do the fast thing, because I want to regenerate some new stem cells and do cool stuff like that. Do this monthly for a bit.
Okay, so you asked about doing a fast involving like eating stuff during the fast.
Low calorie, yeah. It's a
Yeah, so there's definitely a benefit to that. I definitely wouldn't say that water fasting is the only way to go. You can definitely do like a cleanse. A lot of people do those, where you just eat like one thing for a week. And basically what you're doing is you're resetting your response to all the other things that you gave up. So yes, if you have to keep working during the fast, I would definitely suggest not doing a water fast. I would definitely suggest, eating a low-calorie diet, for sure. Justin?
Is there any evidence of any benefits beyond 21 days that you're interested in maybe experiencing?
Maybe someday. The 21 was kind of like the magic number on the internet. Everybody was like, oh, do a 21-day fast. There was actually this fasting center that was like, we do guided 21-day fasts. And I was like, cool. And it was like $2,000 or something like that. And I was like, all right, I'll just do it myself. Well, so they watch over you and like monitor you and make sure you're okay. And answer your questions if you have them or whatever. There are people who have gone for 40-day fasts. There was a woman who died doing a 40-day fast, but she was kind of old and I think had some bad health problems. So this stuff is, I mean, there are dangers to it. Obviously I am not a doctor and do this at your own risk. The reason why people tell you not to do fasting is because they're worried that your relatives are going to sue them when you die. So careful. But again, 21 days should be pretty safe for all of you.
So I'm sure you lurked and spent a lot of time on art fasting, which
Yes.
I think is awesome that resource is available, and that's where I go when I need really niche advice. I'm curious, you actually just answered the question of like a horror story, so 40 days, and someone could make it.
Right.
But I'm also curious from a male to female perspective. I feel like it's probably very different in the anatomical makeup. So, did you run into any of those stories or talk to any like women that were trying to fast, and did they have a harder time with it?
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure there are differences. But I know that a lot of the people on r/fasting are definitely women. I don't remember any specific differences, but I'm sure there are.
I'm just hoping I have now because I don't want to have to.
Like I said, if you have enough body fat and you're otherwise in like pretty okay health, like you don't have like a virus or something like that, like your body needs the immune system. Like one of the things the fast does is it like breaks down and rebuilds your immune system. So if you're trying to fight off an infection during the fast, that's pretty bad. Otherwise, you should be safe. So basically, do you have an infection? And
What about people like yourself who have an illness that are attempting to cure their illness through the fast, and it's somebody who's dealing with some disease? Like, were there people that talked about that?
yeah, I mean, so basically, my insurance policy was like basically I was just like I just read everything that I could on the internet. Has anybody that has done a 21-day fast died? No, as far as I can tell. Can I reach my phone and call 911 if I think I'm going to die? Yeah. That was pretty much it. So, it's kind of reckless, I guess. You probably want to have somebody like checking in on you to make sure that you don't die. It's like I said, I don't think I literally like scoured the internet for stories of people who have died on a 3-week fast, and there are none. But
Were you ever worried at any point? Did you ever have like some anxious moments?
yeah. So mostly towards the beginning of the fast, actually. Mostly day 1 to day 5, or day 2 to day 5, because I had already done one day fast. After that, I was like, all right. After day 5, I was like, all right, I guess we'll do 7 days. And then after that, I was like, all right, I guess we'll do 14. And after that, I was like, all right, I guess I'll do 21. Then I got to the 21st day, and I was like, oh man, I guess I have to eat now. How do you do that? So, yeah.
How high did you get the first time?
Do 2 or 3 more?
Solely.
Yeah, so what was the worst part of this whole experience? Did you feel faint that you were past out or anything like that?
Yeah, okay, so there was one scary time where I went on I was living in Austin at the time. I had some voluntarist friends there, and I was, at the beginning of the fast, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just keep socializing and keep acting like everything is normal. And so I walked for an hour in the hot sun, And then I went and had dinner. While they were having dinner, I didn't eat anything. And I was at this restaurant, and I was just like sitting there like trying to act normal. And for the first like 20 minutes, half an hour, it went really well. And then after that, I was just like, man, I feel really drained. And then I started to feel kind of like tingly. And I was like, oh man, this is I've had this feeling before, and it's when my sodium levels got low, it's when my salt levels got low. And so I basically just was like, okay guys, I gotta leave, you know? And I'm not feeling well. So, and of course I had been talking to them about, I'm on day 4 of my fast, I haven't eaten anything for 4 days. So I just like took some table salt from the table and just put it in my mouth, and then I walked to the park and just laid down, and then I felt better. And then I kind of took it easy walking home. But it was a little scary, but I was like, all right, I'm fine. You gotta like, you really gotta, it's about mental toughness, a lot of this. Like, you just gotta know that you're gonna be all right. And again, like I said, if I really felt like I was dying, I would have just called 911. So, hey, thank God for 911, right?
Without the snake,
Did
you'd be dead.
you get blood tests done following the fast, and have you done?
You know, I should have taken a lot more data in retrospect.
Now I'm getting on our fasting. I'm sure someone did some blood
Yeah, no, the people on there are like super, super data nerds, and they, do blood tests and everything.
Did you feel superior while you were doing it? Like you could put it over your friends, like, oh, I'm fasting.
Yeah, right before it wouldn't lay down.
No, I just was like, I felt like my brain was just telling me like, this is what you have to do. And so I was confident in that way. I just knew that what I was doing was currently the correct thing for me to do. I wouldn't say I felt like superior. I'm sure maybe I came off that way. Maybe I sometimes do. I hope that people tell me that when I do. You're fasting?
No, I was just saying, like, you could just be in like conversations, like, oh, I'm been fasting for 14 days.
Yeah. No, I mostly just tried, I mostly, like I said, after that, I mostly just tried to not hang out with people. Like after day 4, I was like, all right, maybe socializing is just taking a lot of my energy.
Half the fun.
Kiara.
Because you stopped hanging out with people, did anyone think that you were dead?
No. I told people that I'd be going on a fast, and I told people like socializing is hard. Basically, I was just like, sorry if I don't hang out as much as I was hanging out. I'm doing this thing for myself. Actually, my dad came into town on day 16. He was like, so what are you doing? I was like, don't worry, Dad, I'll be fine.
Do you feel like you could get the benefits of a 21-day fast in like a 7 to 10 day period if you added more medium to light exercise like swimming, so that you sped up the metabolism?
So I don't think that, like, yes and no. So basically, if you research fasting on the internet, long fasts, you're actually not supposed to do physical activity. That'll just fuck you up. like you'll actually just, like, so my theory about how long fasting works is that you're trying to put your body into a deep healing state. And the way that you do that is you're a big chemical reaction, right? You're just this big chemical reaction, and you have all these inputs to the chemical reaction and outputs. And so anything that disturbs that kind of baseline chemical reaction, once you let it just kind of silently do its thing, that's when you get the greatest benefit. I would not say that exercising would be conducive to that. But maybe. I don't know. I didn't try it. I do know that going for an hour-long walk on day 4 was extremely strenuous. It didn't feel strenuous at the time, but then afterwards I was like, whoa. So yeah, I would definitely advise against physical activity on a long fast.
Give it up for Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris. That was awesome. Thanks everybody for coming out. For anyone who's new, hang out and chat about anti-state things. Keep fighting the state, but don't run from the cops. That's dangerous. Have a good night.